I mean, I was born in Withington, but I grew up in Stockport, so I'm sort of only partially a Mancunian. I've worked in the city centre most of my adult life. But I suppose, yeah, I suspect it means something different to everybody. I mean, to me, I'm thankful that I grew up near a big city that supplied me with everything that I wanted. So it supplied me with great music venues that put on great rock and roll bands, and great art galleries and great cinemas and all the stuff I kind of selfishly want. And so to me, to me, you know, beyond family and things, it means that all that stuff that I want to be surrounded by is on hand. You know, Lou Reed says in one of the songs, one of the Drella songs, you know, the one good thing about small town is that you get to leave. But I never felt like that because I was next to a big city that's you know, scratched itches.
Manchester's really special because there's such a rich music scene there, and you play all these really famous venues like Night and Day, like, you know, Rebellion's pretty big as well, but Night and Day mostly because we've had Oasis have been through there, Elbow. We had Johnny Marr play the same stage as us about 2 weeks after we'd been on, something like that. He was playing with his son's band, I believe.
Yeah.
And that was very surreal to come up on my Instagram feed when I saw that Johnny Marr had been stood in the same place I had.
Yeah.
There's only so much you'll learn from being in a rehearsal room. You can learn a hell of a lot rehearsing over and over and over again, and that's to be encouraged. Rehearse. Every time you think you're ready for a gig, probably rehearse some more. Record them, listen to them, feel yourself, look at it, think about the time it takes to change over, think about song structure, think about performance, think about everything to do with that thing and hone it and make it a brilliant thing. That said, once that's done, there are some things you're only going to learn from stepping on a stage. You're going to learn about audience, you're going to learn about volume, you're going to learn about monitors, sound engineers, showmanship, you know, command of a room. And so that next step is kind of crucial in terms of getting those things nailed and making those things work. And so I think it's if you've chosen the right time and those rehearsals have worked out and it is the right point to go and take it up on a stage, then these small venues are crucial.
Whenever people think of Manchester, I imagine they think of like the Smiths, Oasis and stuff, all the great bands that have come out from there, and you can really see that it's still there in the small band community. Yeah. You know, these people who are trying really hard, making great music and stuff.
I mean, you get a lot of big artists who promote sort of smaller bands from Manchester. I mean, on a rare occasion, Morrissey was absolutely in love with the Cortinas when they came around, I believe. He very heavily promoted them. Yeah. So you get someone big like that looking out for the little guy, which I think is pretty cool.
It brings people from all over the world to visit the city, it brings artists from all over the world. I mean, it's about colour, isn't it, and sound. It just makes Manchester way more interesting. Makes it far less industrial and way more kind of exciting. You know, there were far more venues than when I grew up. There were far fewer venues when I first started coming to Manchester to see shows. I love that there's venues at every street corner, that pubs that you thought were going to be abandoned have now got venues in the back of them, and that there were gigs in churches and on rooftops and occasionally on street corners and in fields. You know, that was, as a kid, that was the city I wanted to live in. And so I suppose as somebody who works in a music venue, I should probably be a bit more competitive about it. But it's a city I want to be in. Again, you know, I didn't want to be in a small town with no venues. I wanted to be in a big one that had venues everywhere. Well, we were open, but I was at home, and worry, terror, sadness, you know, I'm sure I'm not alone. anger, dancing between those things, confusion. I mean, we're not supposed to understand those things, are they? Because they're so far off the scale in terms of the choices that we make day to day, you and me, that we're not supposed to get it. Those things are off the scale dreadful.
My initial response was, I didn't think it was that serious. In honesty, that's what I thought. I was seeing the news reports really late at night after it happened because I was still awake, and I was reading things saying, oh, maybe it was a speaker blowing up, maybe it was a pyro, or did someone hear some noise over at the MEN? No one really knew what had happened, so I just went to sleep thinking, no, nothing of it.
I think the two most prevalent emotions were kind of like, I think it was like we were upset and we were angry.
Yeah.
So I mean, we did what we could because we had a couple of gigs around that point, so we obviously wanted to show we're from Manchester and we love it here.
We love the place and we love the people.
And so, not quite understanding it, not quite being able to wrap my head around it seems natural to me. And then slowly trying to work out a way of dealing with those feelings, those off the scale, strange, dreadful, grim feelings.
We got involved in the appeal. It was actually, again, the day after the attack. It was posted on Facebook by Sam Barber. She invented the appeal and put the idea out there, and it just went viral. It was shared all over Facebook by everybody. We saw it that day, and we was like, yeah, we're going to do that. We're getting involved. So yeah, we put a post out there. I think I shared it at first because I saw it and I was the only one in that day. Everyone obviously struggled getting into work, so I was in, saw the post, shared it to my Facebook, and then I think the studio may have shared it via me, and we just got phone call after phone call after phone call non-stop. It was really nice atmosphere actually, given the situation. We got that booked up that we were making, trying to make exceptions for people directly involved, you know, like people working that night or ambulance services who could only get time off on certain days. I mean, I tattooed a few nurses that had been working 3 days straight, no days off, came straight to our studio and said, can you do a B? So like I'd make an exception, stop what I was doing and do it for him kind of thing. But yeah, it's nice to see people show support, and it was a real nice atmosphere. Everyone came in really positive. Yeah, it was a good vibe.
The kindness you're talking about and the action, that kind of meeting of activity and kindness, I don't think is unique. I think if it had happened in any other city, I think people would have responded in the same way, because I think most people, their go-to instinct is to help other people. And so I'm happy that it happened, but I don't think it's unique to Manchester at all.
The positive response was really important for the people involved, because it shows, you know, everybody out there is willing to help. I mean, the tattoo appeal alone raised, I think, correct me if I'm wrong, but I think it's raised $500,000 now. So that's going to go a long way to help everybody involved. So it's just great how everyone's reacting, everyone's tried to jump on and help. One girl I tattooed was actually working at the arena. She told me she was stood something like 5 feet from where the bomb actually exploded, and the only reason that she had bruises and things like that. It was literally about 5 days afterwards. The only reason she's still alive is because she was working security and she was stood behind a door, and the door got blown off its hinges and knocked her over, but that saved her life being stood behind that door. So that was quite an interesting story as well.
It made absolute sense that people were mobilised in acts of support and kindness to me. It made absolute sense. You know, I've since met taxi drivers and I said, oh, how did that happen? Were you nearby? And one guy said, one chap whose taxi was in said, oh, I was nearby. And I got a message from head office from cab rank saying, if you're in a cab and you've got somebody in, take them to where they want to go, then get straight back and start picking people up and taking them wherever they want, no charge. And those stories are legion, aren't they? Those stories of people helping are everywhere. Yeah, what a wonderful thing.
I think we even went as I think I changed the lyrics in one of our songs, didn't we?
Anti-citizen.
Yeah, changed it to be a bit more pro-Manchester, and it went from a sort of anti-authoritarian vibe to you're not going to beat us down vibe. Yeah. It was more of a stick together. I mean, and
Manchester's a good place for that,
Yeah.
sticking together,
I mean,
regardless of like
obviously
religion
just
or anything like that, or your sexuality, your gender identity. It doesn't matter. If you're from Manchester, you're a mate.
Music unites people. I think it can cheer people up. I love it how music can change your mood, and you know, instantly put a piece of music on whether it reminds you of something in the past, or it can make you feel, you know, happier even if you weren't feeling happy before. So I love that change of mood, and I think you saw it at the Feel Good Festival. So many people being really, really happy. The crowd, you know, singing "Don't Look Back in Anger." You've got the whole crowd as one.
The concert was organised very, very quickly. It was great. It was brilliant. It's a good way to show support. Everyone around the world got involved in that, so that was brilliant.
Grief is a strange thing. I think it's a mistake to say that there's an appropriate response. I think somebody wanting to get a bee tattoo, if that's their response, then that's perfect. If somebody wants to run for the hills because they're terrified, that's an appropriate response. People want to write poems, people want to put on concerts, people want to, you know, write about it. People, I mean, you know, I think it's such an off-the-scale, awful thing that there isn't an appropriate response. And I think any of those things were fine. You know, when something dreadful happens, it's good that there's a surfeit of nice things. You know, I think it was great that a bunch of nice things happened, because that's what we need, that's what we want every day, isn't it? And so those huge nice things. And the thing that astounded me was how quickly they managed to mobilise all the people and all the procedures that would make that thing happen. Particularly, it's actually harder, aside from the fact that there's a shorter period of time to make those things actually happen from start to finish, but also to make them safely happen, because you're thinking about what's just happened. I thought it was an extraordinary feat of arrangement and organisation, pulling those things together. I mean, just mind-blowing.